everybody, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Dr. DC, and joining me, filling in for producer Richard, is my wife, Mrs. DC.
Hey, everyone.
And each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC Comics while fielding questions from listeners like you. And like I said, if you didn't listen to Ghostfacers yesterday, then you don't know this already. But Richard totally lost his voice this week. So an even more useless co-host.
Very true. For a second, I was like, you better not be talking about me.
No. Sorry. I wasn't queuing you up there. I was roasting Richard, and then it backfired.
It did, but that's okay. I hope he gets his voice back because let's be honest, I'm no Richard.
I mean, that's true. And I don't want to go any further with that. How you doing?
Doing okay.
This is the bit where Richard and I banter.
Oh my goodness.
What do we have to banter about?
Oh man.
Anything?
Rhubarb. Up here it's been March break. And
it was March break for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Up here we have 2 weeks of March break, and anyone who has children knows that it's a nightmare. We've just been busy. You know, I wish that you and I had the most exciting things to talk about. You went to Comic-Con.
I went to Comic-Con. You subscribed to the Patreon to hear about how that weekend was. And listen to the insane audio from last week to know how that recording went.
Yeah, apparently it was insane. That's what you're telling me, that it was a little bit of a womp womp.
It was slightly, yeah.
While you were gone, I was watching such amazing film triumphs as Romeo Must Die.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
I watched the A-Team.
I like that one.
I watched some of the Flight of the Conchords and a lot of mid-2000s Amanda Bynes.
Wow.
Sorry, early 2000s.
Have you
Amanda
been
Bynes.
Keeping up on the Quiet on Set stuff?
No. I've heard about it.
The expose documentary. It's super messed up.
Well, I'll add it to the list.
In a way that is both horrifying and also sort of not surprising.
Yeah, no, that. Well, and honestly, everyone thinks that the golden age of Hollywood, you know how much I'm into 50s, 60s musicals and how they destroyed those young starlets. It's the same. It's the same machine doing the same thing. And, we live in a horrifying future.
Yeah, it's just, it's also insidious.
It's ridiculous.
It's really bad.
And, I did arts and crafts, and you and I are getting ready to be the Easter Bunny.
Yeah, Easter's coming up.
Yeah, so we really are living.
I'm going to dress as Jesus for it, though.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah,
I'm
going to teach our daughter about Stigmata.
She did.
Oh, we should watch Stigmata.
Fun fact: she asked me if we could watch The Prince of Egypt.
Was there an ad for it before another movie? Where did that even come from?
It came up in one of my feeds, and it said, and rightfully so, no animated movie has ever gone as hard as The Prince of Egypt.
Oh, sure.
Which is very true.
I agree.
But it was
although Anastasia goes hard too.
But basically the opening is whips and chains and abuse, and she was like, why are they getting hit? And I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. And now the story of the Jews.
Which is funny because in our off time, the doctor and I are working with a youth theater.
Yes.
On a production of Fiddler on the Roof.
We're working on Fiddler on the Roof.
So,
I was just doing that tonight before we were recording this.
Yeah, he was at rehearsal and I was playing hockey. So,
to life like I am.
Yeah, so we are the coolest married couple.
We are.
Question mark.
We're busy, but we're pretty cool.
Yeah, we do our best.
But at any rate, we're, I feel like, well, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like since bonding time ended, subscribe on the Patreon if you want to hear us chatting about James Bond movies. But I feel like since bonding time ended, maybe you've slightly missed the microphone a little bit.
I will admit, you know what I miss more? I'm just miss spending time with you, dear.
Oh, wow.
There you
wow.
go.
An actual, like, nice thing to say.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, my goodness.
I
was
you.
so ready for snark there.
Well, I give you enough snark, and we've been ships passing in the night for weeks now.
Wow.
So this is actually kind of nice. I really quite enjoyed doing Ghost Facers with you last night.
Yeah, that's right. You did Ghost Facers. You watched your second ever episode of Supernatural. We just plunked you in.
Yes.
You watched an episode mid-season 9.
Yeah.
And do you have the bug now? Do you want to watch more Supernatural now?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
No, I'm sorry.
well, this segment didn't work out.
I'm sorry, and I have to be honest, and I know that's not good for
It's
you.
true. Honesty's bad for podcasting.
I apologize, but Jensen Ackles still does it. I will always pop in for you, but am I just going to go and sit and watch? No.
There's an episode coming either this season or in season 10 that I kind of need you to watch at some point.
Okay.
Because in the world of the show, in the world of Supernatural, the boys' real lives are transcribed as a series of novels by a previous prophet of the Lord,
Yes.
who is later revealed to actually have been God.
You've told me about this before.
But like, so people like know their real lives because it's a book series in the show. And there's an episode coming either this season or next season where a high school makes a musical of their lives.
Of course
and
they
puts
do.
on like a high school musical Supernatural.
All in this together.
There's a song called Single Man Tear that's particularly good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is it almost as good as Work Hard or Die Trying Girl?
It's not quite as funny as Working Hard or Die Trying Girl from Bob's Burgers, but
But it's up there.
But it's up there.
And fun fact, I wanted to tell you this.
Sure.
On the subject of us watching things together, the Doctor really loves Love Is Blind, but he's been very disappointed in the last few seasons.
Only only season 5.
Yeah.
Season 5 I got fully bored with.
But so I'm partway through that. I'll let you know when we get to the wedding part, because that's
Well, no, that was last season.
No, I
this
know.
current one is 6.
yeah, I know, but I'll let you know. Like I'm halfway through, and
I've only seen a couple of episodes
Yeah.
so far of season
But
6.
where I was going with this, thank you, ADHD brain. There's a new episode. There's a new series of Perfect Match coming.
Oh shit, that's like the
Yeah.
Netflix dating all stars in the
Yes.
house. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I definitely have to watch that one. Perfect Match is like it's a absolute like typhoon of bad choices.
But you love it because
do.
Shane was on it. You love Shane.
Yeah, and the chaos energy of Shane and Bartice in there
Yeah.
was a lot.
Well, and this is the magic of your mid 30s.
Yeah,
Perfect Match and coloring books.
hell yeah.
Yeah, nailed it.
Well, I appreciate you joining me. Like I said, Richard's out. But our theme for this week was chosen by our Golden Age Patreon subscribers. We're talking about Showcase, DC Showcase, which was like an old anthology comic series.
Okay.
Meaning that like every issue or every 2 issues, it was a different story, different creators. They would just like cycle characters and stories in. It was a way to like either test things out or try and gauge if people were interested in a thing again without like overcommitting, giving them their own book or things like that.
So basically like pulling out of the vault. Is it all existing characters or were there sort of revamping and seeing if it's
There are a bunch of characters that debuted in Showcase.
Okay.
Including like Barry Allen and Hal Jordan
Oh.
debut in Showcase.
Oh, okay.
But also they would like reprint older things. Like they reprinted like old Phantom Stranger stories at one point or things like that. But it was an anthology. Sometimes there were Western stories. Sometimes there were sci-fi things. Sometimes there were adventure things. Sometimes there were...
Did they have romance comics in there too?
Not that many. Some humor comics.
Oh, okay.
There were other like romance comics and romance anthologies and stuff like that. But Showcase, not so much in Showcase. But
Is Showcase something that like this is completely new to me? Is this something that you own at all?
I have a couple of Showcase comics, but not a ton, to be honest. I think that I've got some Power Girl Showcase comics. I might have a couple of Hawkman ones.
Okay, because
I don't have a ton of Showcase. I have some other anthology comics. Like DC had a few different series. Like they had one called DC Comics Presents that I have a bunch of.
I've seen those in your collection.
But those are all Superman team-ups. So it's an anthology in that, like, it's not like one story.
Okay.
It's like 1 or 2 issue adventures. But the whole thing with DC Comics Presents was they would just team up someone with Superman. So one issue would be like Superman and the Creeper. And one would be Superman and Martian Manhunter. And one would be Superman and the Challengers of the Unknown or whatever. And I have a bunch of those.
Yeah, this is my knowledge is not nearly like even a minuscule amount compared to you and Richard, but in terms of what you have in your collection, because I have no willpower and I buy you everything I see. This is definitely a gap for me. I've never heard the title Showcase before.
Yeah.
This is completely new for me.
Well, and for people who maybe aren't as much into the comics, DC Showcase was also the title that they applied to like a series of short animated features. The one that I know you've seen is the Green Arrow one. DC Showcase Green Arrow is the one where he's like at the airport and he like fights Malcolm Merlin.
Yes.
And then Count Vertigo shows up and Black Canary shows up at the end. It's just a short, it's like 6 minutes long or something like that, or 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
But they made a series of those too. There's a Catwoman one, there's a Jonah Hex one, there's a Spectre one, there's a few. And they called them DC Showcase as well. And the same idea that they were Captain Marvel, Black Adam, Captain Marvel or Shazam, Superman, First Thunder, that one.
Oh, the one where the art is like the two of them like this with the thing down the middle, and it's very dark and moody, like Christopher Nolan-esque.
I mean, kind of, but like it's the one that we've watched like with
Magoo.
Oh,
okay.
Where it's, you know, Black Adam is there and Billy's learning how to use his powers and Superman is also there helping him.
Oh, yes.
That's also part of DC Showcase. So those were like, they applied the same principle, right? That these are anthologies. We're doing short versions, little tasters of different characters to gauge people's interest or to get them excited about the wider world of the DC universe and stuff like that. So it's a similar sort of idea. But we got some questions about this. So shall we just dive in?
Absolutely.
Okie dokie. Are you going to do this?
I'm going to ask you questions.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Why am I here besides looking good?
Well, I mean, that's a big part of it.
Truly.
If I'm being honest.
Truly.
Yeah. And it's just for me because it's not a video episode.
Weird. That's a weird flex. Okay, so our maybe. So our first question is from Facebook.
Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook.
And our question comes from Kyle Sovey. What's the most critically acclaimed Showcase?
Critically acclaimed is sort of hard to measure, especially because like the original Showcase series is from the Silver Age. It's from like the 50s and the 60s. Critical reception of comics isn't really a thing back then. Comics are like rags for children.
Yes.
So the idea of reading reviews of a comic isn't a thing back then.
Well, what would be the most valuable one then? So
there are, like I said, some characters debut in Showcase. There are some key issues of Showcase.
Okay.
A huge one is Showcase number 4, I believe, is the first appearance of Barry Allen, the Silver Age Flash. That issue specifically is not just the first appearance of Barry Allen. It's not just like reintroducing people to the concept of the Flash. It's the start of the Silver Age of comics.
Oh.
That comic is considered to be when the Silver Age starts. It's 1956, I think, or 54 or something.
Oh, so these were like old. These are vintage style. These weren't.
Oh, if you've got Showcase number 4, like put it behind glass, like
yeah. Was Showcase something that came out every decade or something like that, or is
it's a monthly comic. It's like any other comic, but it was just that like in issue 1 it would be like a war story, in issue 2 it would be an adventure story. Like it's just that you aren't following the characters like month to month. They're kind of one-shot stories. The characters would change, the writers would change. It were just like you would just bomb in like. It's like watching like Black Mirror or something, like a TV show where it's like episode to episode, they're not connected.
Which is, I think, is
like,
better.
Or like Are You Afraid of the Dark or Twilight Zone? Like those are anthology stories. You're not following one character all the way through. We're just telling stories, and then you come back the next week or the next month in the case of a comic, and here's a different story to try. The longest they would go is like 3 issues maybe to tell a story, and then that's it.
I kind of like that. I kind of like those smaller, more palatable stories, especially if you're a new comic reader or someone without the breadth of knowledge like myself.
Totally. So, I mean, at any rate, like Showcase number 4, which, that's the first one of the Flash. That's very valuable, obviously. Another one, Showcase 6 and 7 is the first appearance, I think, of the Challengers of the Unknown, which is a Jack Kirby creation. They're like adventurers.
Oh.
They don't have powers, but they're adventurers. But they become the template for the Fantastic Four, basically, when Kirby goes to Marvel.
Oh, well, yeah, when he jumps ship.
So, Challengers of the Unknown, which you know from Teen Titans Go to the movies.
I do.
We're the Challengers of the Unknown.
We will escape this abyss. They are...
All that waits for us here is madness. Madness.
I love them. I love them so much.
There's the first appearance of Hal Jordan is Showcase 22.
Okay.
And again, this was a revamping. It's the Silver Age version of the Green Lantern.
Okay.
So before Barry and Hal, back in the 40s, we had Jay Garrick with the tin hat.
Yes.
Flash.
Oh, that's
It was John Wesley Shipp on the show. And Alan Scott, the Green Lantern with the big purple cape and the orange shirt. And stuff, the blonde hair and stuff like that. But they're very different. Like that Green Lantern, his powers are magic. And the original Flash, it was like, oh, you breathed in too much hard water vapor. Now you're fast. But then the reason that Showcase number 4 is sort of considered to be the start of the Silver Age is DC started like revamping ideas of characters and making them more sci-fi. So Barry Allen was a scientist who gets struck by lightning and covered in chemicals and becomes the Flash. It was a slightly more sci-fi version of the Jay Garrick thing.
Like, is that more so what happens to Grant Gustin? And
he's Barry, yeah. So that's his thing.
Yeah.
But Hal Jordan, instead of just being a train conductor that finds a magic lantern, he gets inducted into the Space Police.
Oh,
right? Like they become sci-fi adventures. The Golden Age Hawkman and Hawkgirl were like reincarnating Egyptians. And then in the Silver Age, it's like, no, you're Thanagarian police officers.
Oh, yes.
The original Atom was just a small guy who punched a lot. He had no powers. He was just like 5 feet tall. He's like, I'm the Atom, see? And then
it became Ray.
And then the Silver Age Atom, who also debuted in Showcase, became it was a science thing. He has a piece of dwarf star in his bio belt, and he can shrink.
Yeah.
So it was this like sci-fi-ification.
Okay.
The thing that kind of leads to the modern superhero is what we consider the Silver Age. So if I was going to say what's the most important Silver Age comic, it's Showcase 4. It's Barry Allen.
But it's hard to really pinpoint what critical acclaim means because...
Well, and on that note, I'll say I reread Showcase 4 before this episode, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's not that good, if I'm being honest.
But it's hard. It's hard to gauge what that is, though.
The idea of the Flash is cool enough, though, that floats it. But like, it's not as good of a debut issue as Jay Garrick's first appearance. Put it that way. Of two Flashes, I'd rather read Flash Comics #1 than Showcase #4.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So those of you out there might not be a lot of critical acclaim, but according to the doctor, Jay Garrick first.
I like this new idea of like summarizing what I said.
You're welcome.
It's almost like there's a version of this podcast somewhere in the multiverse that's good.
You know what's amazing? It makes me think of like the anger translator.
Yeah.
You have, the elevated knowledge, and I'm just like, hey, for those of you who know nothing, this is what it means.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is Richard just like, this is normally where I have to shake Richard because he's on his phone, and he goes like, next question.
Oh, you're
so welcome. I like this dynamic. It's like an actual podcast.
Oh, I just show up and do what I can when I can.
Yeah, it's good.
When Richard's not here.
Yeah, I like it.
So our next one, we're kicking it over to Threads.
Threads.
JVideo13 asks, should DC bring back Showcase / more anthology series?
Yeah, I mean, I like them because I say this all the time, and I said this on other podcasts when I guest on them. Like, and you know this about me too, I prefer like breadth to depth.
Yes.
That's not to say I don't go deep on it. Like, I have a ton of issues I have almost all of Hawkman.
Yeah.
Well, other than like Golden Age stuff, I have like almost all of Hawkman.
Yes.
I have a ton of issues of like insert character.
Aquaman.
Yeah, exactly.
Is probably your next.
I'll
biggest.
go deep on stuff, but if we're out at a comic book store or at a con, it's unlikely that I would buy 20 issues of one thing. I'd rather buy 20 different weird things I don't have and have one issue each of 20 different characters.
Yeah, usually
that's my, like, it's the way I buy for my collection. It's the way I prefer to even read. Like, I'd rather read 20 different issues than 20 issues in a row of something generally. Like,
but I would say the only caveat there is I do the same thing when you and I go out together.
Yeah.
I look for the most obscure thing and go, does this look okay?
Yeah.
But what will supersede that for you, I think, is if you find a good run of something.
Sure. But I mean, that's more about like logistically, like how hard would it be for me to find all of these issues on their own?
Well,
and less about like you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, the only thing I'm interested in is stuff in order.
Well, no, but like, for example, sorry to rub salt in this wound, but the only regret that I've ever heard you voice and our relationship together in terms of comic books is that you didn't buy, in terms of comic books.
I don't know. I think that makes it worse that you're specifying that.
You're welcome. When we were at that vintage store at
the antique market,
and they had that run of Black Lightning,
the original 11 issues of Black Lightning.
And you're still kicking yourself for that. Like,
I think I eventually got them though.
You might have, but like, for example, I get what you're saying. You are definitely more, and me buying for you is definitely more bits of obscurity that seem fun rather than, we have to have this because like these are the holes in your, like, and you're not a holes guy.
Ladies,
you're welcome. Apologies.
Yeah. You armpits and knee pits only.
We're just telling everybody about us, aren't we?
Yeah.
But
me, I'm not a holes guy.
But truly, if I tell you I'm going, like when last time I went down south and I said, hey, is there anything that you need to like fill a piece of your collection?
It's true. It's been like over a decade. I still haven't filled some holes in big runs and stuff. Ladies, but that's what I mean. That it's not. That's not a picking thing for you. No,
that stuff doesn't eat at you. It would eat at me. But
no, it doesn't bug me. That's also because if I need to read it, like to get the complete story, like I have digital comics.
No, I know
I can read pretty much whatever I want almost whenever I want. So it's not really about like, well, now I can't finish the story.
Yeah.
So
but you're
if
not
it's
a
not about
completionist.
that, and if it's more about like, there's things I like having physical copies of, then it's like, I'd rather have the weirder stuff.
Yeah. But you're definitely not if I don't have 1 to 80 straight of Aquaman,
it doesn't
then
bug me.
it's not complete. Like that's definitely not your vibe.
No, it doesn't bug me at all.
Whatsoever.
So on that note, like a thing like Showcase or like DC Comics Presents or like The Brave and the Bold, which was also a team ups series.
Yeah.
I like those things because I like the variety. I like that every 2 or 3 issues it's a totally new story, brand new characters, totally different even tone or genre or vibe or whatever.
Did they change out illustrators?
Yeah. Like it's totally different creative teams. It'd be like, can you guys do like 2 issues of this? And they'd be like, yeah, sure. And then they'd be like, can you do one? And they go, yeah.
Could you imagine if they just had a hat and they put people's names in the hat?
But I kind of,
they're like, for this one, you.
I sort of think they should. Now, I'm sure that there's like business cases why that's not a great idea.
Yeah.
However, DC occasionally circles back to the anthology well every once in a while. I think very few of them have gone for as many issues as Showcase did, which is 90 some odd. But I think there was a run of Brave and the Bold that maybe hit 100. But, the original one, but I mean like a more recent one. But they do circle back to that. They did a DC Universe Presents at the beginning of the New 52, or Truth and Justice was like a web first anthology series that I liked well enough. They circle back to it, but certainly not as long run as Showcase had. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I love that. I think it would be kind of cool though to
Well, here, let me flip this around. Would something like Showcase, like if you don't like reading comics like as a format, that this wouldn't change that. But would something like Showcase be like more interesting to you as opposed to like, like if it was like you pick a comic to get monthly, would you want to just see what Batman's up to each month, or would you rather like each month I don't know what character I'm gonna get and I'll read a thing of them?
I would,
and like that. Knowing that like sometimes you won't like that and sometimes you will, like it will vary as much as the characters change.
That would I think that would be more interesting to me, but it depends on if how I like a good hyper focus.
Sure.
But I think that it would bother me if I found something in that Crunch All Mix Berries that I really enjoyed, and it was just 2 of them.
Yeah, sure.
But honestly, for some reason, I have an image in my head right now of like the War Room from Dr. Strangelove,
okay,
and that there's just like a hat with like comic book artists and writers in there, and they're like, "Hey, this week we're gonna have Gerard Way." With Francis Monopole, I think it would be.
Oh yeah, look at these pulls! Oh yeah, baby!
I think that I don't know why, but in my head, I have that image, and I think that would be so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And again, they've done other anthology series since the 50s, and I think it's Brave and the Bold Volume 3 is like a really strong one. And that's just team ups.
Yeah.
Not Superman team ups specifically, just any team ups. And they were like 2 to 3 issues or whatever. And like those are great. I love, and that was a good series, but yeah.
I wish, and please correct me if I'm ignorant here. I really like, and I wish there were more of the fancy book types of anthologies, like your Starman Omnibus. Like that's a beautiful book to look at.
Yeah, but that's also like Starman didn't just come out like that. Like Starman came out as issues, and then 20 some odd years later they were like, or 30 years later they were like, should we take all 80 issues and the 12 issues of The Shade and like the DC 1 million tie-in and just put them into giant compendiums?
But I think that would be very interesting, is that if you had a run of these showcases, is to make
do make a showcase like
compendium like that.
Maybe not quite that big, but I think you can get hardcovers that like collect Showcase comics.
Okay.
Or at least you could get like the black and white, like that newsprint one that I've got that's like old Silver Age Legion of Superhero stories.
Yes.
It's printed on like shitty newsprint.
Yes.
They at least have that with old Showcase stories, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
So they do a little bit of that.
But I think, how I like a nice vintage looking classic book.
Right.
But
you're just saying they should do that. Not that they should, instead of putting them out as single issues, wait until they have a compendium's worth of stuff and then just release that. Oh, okay.
you would kill a bunch of people as they wait, but
sure.
It would be
interesting. I guess only if I knew that they were doing that. If they just dropped it like a secret Beyonce album or something, then I guess it would be pretty cool.
You would love that.
I would. That's true.
You would love that if there was just like, by the way, kablamo.
That's true.
So maybe we should kick it over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
Very nice. This one comes from copy_801. If DC were to bring back Showcase, what kind of characters would you like to see spotlighted?
Can I just tell you that I've been sitting on this, but I think it's important that you know.
Okay.
Another super team that debuted in Showcase, the Metal Men.
I love the Metal Men.
I know you do. I
wish we had enough money that I could go buy you all the Metal Men.
I know. I'm getting there slowly. What kind of character? Like you could interpret this question as either name characters that you'd want to just see random stories of, or like you could interpret it as like what type of characters? Like, do you want like swashbuckler character? Like, do you want more superheroes? Do you want like Western? Like you could interpret it either way. But what kind of characters would you want to see if, let's say, next month DC was like, we're bringing back Showcase, 1 to 2 issue stories of, and then we're going to switch them up.
I would be interested. You know how when you guys first started, and we were talking about like team ups and weird team ups and stuff like that, and we were going through those cards that I bought you.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some weird team ups. I'd love to see like a Bwana Beast and Soundwave. What's Soundwave's name?
What Vibe?
Yeah, know, like these really obscure team ups. I'd love to see that. I would love to see.
So that's like more of a Brave and the Bold format than a Showcase, because Showcase was like, no, this is like a Challengers of the Unknown story, but they only get 3 issues or 2 issues.
Justice League.
And then they would switch. It'd be like, here's a Flash story for 2 issues. It wasn't but Brave and the Bold's thing was like, here are team ups.
Okay. Then I'd like to change my answer to Justice League Dark, because I really like that movie when we watch it.
Yeah.
And I think that the art in that would be amazing to get different people's perspectives.
I do like the magic side of DC. I wouldn't mind a Shadow Pact story, which is a slightly different magic team, but the same idea, essentially.
I just think that you could do a lot, and it would be really interesting to see the stories change and the art change, because there is so much interpretation in magic.
Couple of things that I got to mention because they came up. You mentioned Bwana Beast. Bwana Beast debuted in Showcase.
Yay! Good for me.
But also you talked about magic characters, and then I brought up the Shadow Pact. Nightmaster Jim Rook debuted in Showcase.
Well, there you go.
So key member of the Shadow Pact there.
Nice.
Currently dead, but
oh, great.
Yeah.
Did he have a really bad death, like Ted Cord?
I mean, not quite like that, but the Batman Who Laughs kills him in the Oblivion bar by jamming the Sword of Night through his head.
Oh, gorgeous!
Like into the bar.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty bad. But then Detective Chimp inherits the Sword of Night. He doesn't do a very good job protecting the land of Mira, especially when the Lords of Chaos are unraveling the Sphere of the Gods.
Did he at least clean the sword?
Yeah, I think he cleaned the sword. Okay. Yes, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it didn't still have like bits of Jim Rook's brain on it. Yeah.
So sorry, again, my brain. When you said that he stuck it through his head into the bar, it kind of made me think of Heath Ledger with the pencil in the gangster's eye.
It's sort of like that. Okay, so a couple of things. So Jim Rook, Nightmaster, is a regular guy who ends up finding this place called Oblivion Inc. back then, but then becomes part of the Oblivion Bar, which is this pocket dimension magical beverage establishment that he ends up running. But he inherits the Sword of Night, which makes him the guardian of this magical realm called Mira.
Okay.
And he basically just dresses in like blue chainmail with a red cape, and he has this sword.
Oh, I was going to say, is he wearing Atlantean armor and an orange wig?
No. So he's, but that's him. Jim Rook, the Nightmaster. He ends up running the Oblivion Bar, which all of DC magicians go and, like, good guys, bad guys, everyone goes to the bar. It's like neutral territory.
Okay.
When he dies during Dark Knight's Metal, the Batman who laughs basically like, picture it like, here's the bar. Jim Rook's head is like this, the sword through it into the bar.
Oh, okay.
He dies ugly.
Oh,
but he stays back. Like the Dark Knights are like invading, and he's like, I'll hold them off, and everyone escapes the Oblivion Bar, and he dies holding back the tide, basically.
I learned so much.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, like, I'd love to see inside your brain how all this shit is cataloged.
No, you wouldn't.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing. We have another one from Instagram here.
All right.
From Mike the Beast Benson.
All right.
If you could choose one character or team that debuted in the showcase line to have their own standalone film or TV series, which would you choose?
Ooh.
That's a big one because you really like your DC TV series.
Yeah, I mean, to a point.
No, but like...
Yeah.
But you always say that you like how they start and they amp up really well at the beginning, and I think it'd be interesting to...
Yeah, I mean, again, to a point. Some of them suck. I'll throw this one out there. I think I'd be slightly interested in Hawk and Dove as a movie, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe more than as a TV show. I mean, Hawk and Dove have been on Titans.
Yeah.
We've seen them a little bit in there. But
I think Metal Men would be a good TV show.
Metal Men would be a great TV show. The basic premise of Hawk and Dove...
I do remember.
You do remember? Okay. Yeah. So, one is empowered by the Lords of Chaos and is sort of the avatar of war. The other is empowered by the Lords of Order. It is essentially the avatar of peace. And I wouldn't want it to be like the original Ditko stuff, because in that one, Ditko is like, oh, the peace guy's a pussy. Like, you read those original Hawk and Dove stories, and it's like, the Hawk is like doing all this cool stuff, and then Dove is like, no, I don't wanna. Like, he really, you can tell there's a clear bias. He's like, see, war is the only way. But I think there's more interesting later runs of Hawk and Dove, or later interpretations, where it's like there is a time to fight and there's a time to become. It's also the manner in which we fight. How do you fight for something in a constructive way as opposed to a destructive way? And I think especially, like in the modern era where people conflate like rage with passion, and that's not the same. I think something like Hawk and Dove is interesting to drag out.
Okay.
There's a great episode of Justice League Unlimited with Hawk and Dove and Wonder Woman, and it's a really good one.
I love that.
So I think Hawk and Dove would be one for me. Here, I'll just give you a quick rundown of some characters that debuted in a showcase, and then you could tell me what what you find interesting. So, some characters that debuted. Flash, Challengers of the Unknown, Adam Strange, Rip Hunter, Time Master, Green Lantern, the Sea Devils, Silver Age Atom, the Metal Men, the Creeper, Hawk and Dove, Spectre.
Okay. TV series, bar none, hands down, Metal Men. I just would love to see that. Movie.
Who's your favorite of the Metal Men?
I really like little Tin.
Oh, Tin.
He's so sweet.
He's so scared.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just like him. I just think he's great. I think that Rip Hunter Time Master would be a very interesting movie because I think that you could turn it into, I don't know, like a trilogy, anthology, what have you. I think that there's a lot more space there. to have a lot more ideas that flow together.
Yeah.
Naturally.
I feel like Rip Hunter only exists in comics now because he existed in comics then. And people love a sort of like, we remember the legacy of these things. But Rip Hunter has been totally overshadowed by Booster Gold, who eventually got retconned to be Rip Hunter's dad.
Oh, okay.
But Booster Gold is like a way more colorful, bombastic time traveler. Like to the point where Legends of Tomorrow had Rip Hunter as the main character in its first season. And then they basically wrote him out.
Yes.
And then they were essentially doing a Booster Gold show without Booster Gold, just with a team of randos. And Legends of Tomorrow is a great show. Like that show fucking finds its stride season 2 onward, and it just embraces how dumb it is and how fun it is.
Yes.
And it's great. It's like a show that's only Dog Dean afternoon episodes. Like Legends of Tomorrow is amazing, but it's objectively a Booster Gold show without Booster Gold, and they just write out Rip Hunter. Well, so it's sort of funny in a way because like I think you're right. Like a time travel thing should be interesting, but nowadays I go like, but Rip Hunter's not the guy. He should be like a supporting character in a Booster Gold thing. So
you don't think that he could carry it like for example, I know I'm dating myself here, but like the Lara Croft movies.
I think that's the right tack for them, to treat them more like adventure things than sci-fi. It just happens to be through time. Yeah. I think you're right that way if you're doing Rip Hunter as opposed to Booster Gold. But
it would be interesting.
It's not to say it can't work. It's just like the landscape in the DC universe is so weird now. And Rip Hunter still shows up in comics. But again, I think they do it because it's like,
hey, remember?
We really should give him his flowers. Like he was here first.
Well, exactly.
You know, like as opposed to like if you just were, which time travel character should we pick? Is anyone like just picking Rip Hunter? And you go like, I don't know.
I don't think so.
You know?
But honestly,
But yes, I love an idea of a time travel adventure. I think that's that would make a great TV show. I mean, it has already, but it would make a good movie too.
See, those of you from DC that are listening, hey, make a TV show. Rip Hunter. Bring him back.
Booster Gold is coming. It's part of James Gunn's proposed new DCU.
Well, James Gunn, if you're listening to this, fix yourself.
Yeah, get Rip Hunter in there or not, because we have a sort of ambiguous take on him.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So, my goodness. So there's one more here from Instagram.
Okay.
From Jeff Attack. What are some of the weirdest, silliest, must-read issues to check out?
Ooh.
You love a good silly story.
I don't know an issue number, but a good silly thing that I think debuted in Showcase. Or maybe it didn't, but it did end up in Showcase, is this thing called Angel and the Ape, where, what was her name? Something O'Day, but she's teamed, it's a humor comic, but she's like a detective teamed up with a talking gorilla named Sam Simeon.
So it's like, oh, never mind.
What?
I was going to say, so it's like Dunstan checks in.
Well, except that he's like, it's not like just a monkey.
He's sentient.
Yeah.
Yes. He's like is he like the Ultra Humanite?
No, he's actually, so Sam, here's the craziest thing. So Angel and the Ape, that just sounds like a silly premise. You go like, well, I bet they forgot about that. No. Sam Simeon is later retconned to be the grandson of Gorilla Grodd. Sam Simeon is like in DC Comics. He exists. He's worked for Argus. Sam Simeon like is around. But it all started in this humor comic called Angel and the Ape that you can find in Showcase. I don't know what issue number, but that's back in there. There's one issue of Showcase that is just, I think it's a reprint of a comic book version of Dr. No.
Oh, I kind of want to read that.
That's buried in there.
We should have read that.
I think there's like a G.I. Joe one. Like Showcase also had a couple of weird forays into like licensed stuff. And, DC has had licensed stuff before. Like they made Star Trek comics and they made all sorts, like they've done it before. But Showcase had a couple of like weird like experiments in that a little bit. They would reprint like All-Star Western ones and things like that.
Is it sort of like team ups like right now that Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No, it's not team ups.
Oh, but like, so they're just their own standalone.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Showcase is just like in this issue, it's a G.I. Joe story.
Okay.
Next issue, it's a James Bond story.
Okay.
That's like it's not
they don't interweave it at all.
No, at all. It's anthology. And the premise is also not anthology, but everyone is with Batman.
Yes.
It's not, it's just, I mean, this issue is a different story. Okay. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So I would
try to find Angel and the Ape though.
Okay.
Because it does have like sort of like more like humorist, like it's a humor comic, a funny page. But now it's like weirdly integrated into DC. They were like, oh yeah, we'll keep this weird shit too. Like,
part of me that's sad that Richard isn't here tonight is I guarantee you he would have made an absolutely ridiculous jingle to Angel and the Ape for sure.
I mean, maybe
he would have, or he would have made some gross comment about Angel and the Ape.
As far as I know, they never hook up.
Honestly, I can't bring that level of, I can't bring the heat like
I don't think they Howard the Duck it that way.
Oh God, Howard the Duck.
Because if there's one thing we know, it's that Howard the Duck, Howard the fucks.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. He and Mrs. McFly. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went back in time and fucked Marty's mom.
It's true.
Yeah.
Good old Leah Thompson.
Jesus.
There you go. Oh, so wholesome. Hey, we should kick it over to Reddit.
We should, but before we do that, let's take a little break. Today's episode is sponsored by Factor. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. You'll have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. Fuel up fast with Factor's restaurant-quality 2-minute meals that are ready to heat and eat wherever you are. Discover a wide variety of easy options for the entire day, like breakfast, midday bites, and more. We've done the math. Factor is less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved to be nutritious and delicious. Factor is the perfect solution if you're looking for fast, upscale options done easily. You can also get as much or as little as you need by choosing 6 to 18 meals per week. Plus, you can pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. No prep, no mess meals. Factor meals are 100% ready to heat and eat, so there's no prepping, cooking, or cleanup needed. Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. Head to factormeals.com/DrDC50 and use code DrDC50 to get 50% off. That's code DrDC50 at factormeals.com/DrDC50 to get 50% off. And now, back to the show. And we're back.
Well, thank goodness we're back, because we're on our way over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
Not ever. So this one comes from Fingerstripes13.
Finger Stripes.
Yes, I know.
Fingers Grayson.
Oh, Jesus. Besides Barry Allen and Hal Jordan, who are your favorite characters to come out of Showcase?
Well, I know one of beyond the Metal Men, I know one of yours. You love Ray Palmer. You love the Atom.
I do.
What is it about the Atom that you like?
Okay, we have gone every time I come on the show.
I know, but we just got to keep drilling down.
Okay.
We got to figure it out. And specifically because you don't read the comics. You don't like you watched a bit of the TV shows, but it's like but I don't doubt your genuine like love of the character, but I'm like, but you take in so little of him that I'm like, so what do you like about him?
Okay. I very much love, well, you and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
Where I bought you those old.
Oh yeah, the old like Filmation.
The old
cartoons.
Filmations.
Yeah.
He's so fun and
Those
cute.
Those ones are pretty fun.
And it's just like, hey guy, I'm gonna get big and punch you. Like I love it. And also in Legends he's hot.
You like Brandon Routh.
He's hot.
Yeah.
And he's on The Flash too, isn't he?
Yeah. He's on The Flash. He actually started on Arrow.
Yeah, because he dates Caitlin, doesn't he? Aren't he and Caitlin a thing?
He dates Felicity on Arrow.
Okay.
He started on Arrow, and he does make guest appearances on The Flash, and then he's a regular on Legends.
He not a hot Superman for me, but
right.
He
do you know what though? I think you would like him as like older Superman when they did Crisis. He gets another crack at Superman, and you're like, "Fuck, Brandon Routh actually is a good Superman."
Honestly, And anytime that I have looked at the comics that I bought for you, or when I would bring them home with you and for you, and I'd like read them on the plane or whatever, I just thought they were fun.
Yeah, I mean,
like him.
I think his power is fun too, like especially for comics. Like in the Silver Age, he could like shrink down. You just see him like riding an Electron, like it's a fucking horse or some shit. Like
what is the? Doesn't he ride an ant? In that one old school cartoon we watched.
Oh yeah, all sorts of stuff like that. He could travel through the telephone, like if he makes a call and you pick up, because then he rides the electrons through.
Well, and I really love that one where he's inside. They're on Mars or something like that, and those space those astronauts get kidnapped by those Martian spacemen.
Yeah.
And he shows up. And he gets small and goes in and like messes with their ray guns, and it's just like a womp womp womp. And I just find it so, you know me.
Yeah,
I'm such a simple woman.
His power is pretty fun. I like his costume too, though. Actually, like the blue with the triangle and then the red. Like it's pretty simple, but the Atom's a character that I like. Who are my favorite characters to come out of Showcase? I mean, I'll throw one out there with a big asterisk, which is that I love Bwana Beast. With the big asterisk of, yes, it's super racist and I don't need him to be white. But the idea of the character, I like his crazy chimera power where you can just fuse two animals and they get the best attributes of each. And the costume's crazy. Like it's sort of hard to extricate it from what is obviously racism, but there's just, I don't know, there's something just like really fascinating about Bwana Beast, which I guess means what I really want is a Freedom Beast book. 'Cause at least then it's not the quote unquote white god of Kilimanjaro anymore. But I do love that power. Like, I think it's an interesting one. I like animal powers in general. I think they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
Bwana Beast has an interesting arc in the Morrison Animal Man run too. He becomes the Shining Man. He becomes a villain. He ends up dying in that one. Mike Maxwell, the original Bwana Beast, ends up dying. But yeah, that's a character that I think's fascinating.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it seems like our final set of questions here is going to be coming from your loyal, ever-loving Doc Squad.
Oh, fuck. Hang on. To Doc, the Doc Squad is Doc.
Do you do a new one every week?
I pick a new song every week.
Why?
I don't know. Sometimes I get stuck in a bit.
And okay.
So that was To Life from Fiddler on the Roof. Expect a bunch of Fiddler on the Roof ones in the next few weeks.
You're welcome, everyone at home. You're welcome. All right.
I think I've already done Sunrise, Sunset, and Tradition. So
I believe it. So
the Doc Squad.
The Doc Squad.
The Doc Squad.
All right. So the first one here comes from...
What does it take to ask the Doc a question? Send it to have him read it on the show.
Wow.
I didn't do anything nearly that good a couple of weeks ago when I did Tradition. I'm so fucking angry right now.
You're welcome, listeners.
Damn it.
He just keeps getting better with time.
Just in your heads, edit that into wherever I did Tradition, because that was good.
All right, so the first one here is from The Moral Compass of the Doxcord.
Sure.
From a business standpoint, considering market trends and consumer taste, would a showcase format succeed today? How many issues do you reckon should such a title would last, even assuming with a top-tier writer-artist team? For example, Gerard Way, Francis Monopole.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think history has shown that there's a limited shelf life to an anthology series. The only real exception, I think, is Brave and the Bold Volume 3, which is in the 2000s, and I feel like it got a decent run. Maybe 100 issues? I'm probably making that up, but I feel like it had a decent run. But that was a team-ups one, so you also get the benefit of when someone likes a character, someone else likes they buoy each other.
Yes.
Showcase is slightly different in that, you pick this up, you go, I either will like this or I don't, or I'm interested or I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I think is that I don't know that I would be as interested if it was like a creative team and they were like, each issue we're going to explore a different character.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I say that maybe I would be interested, but I also think the magic of it is for it to be a sandbox for all creators to play in.
Yes. So
it's like, you only have to write one issue. You only have to draw one issue, maybe two. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you just pair random people up. Like, it's stuff they can work in around their other work. It's not like now you have to commit to writing 30 issues of a series or something, or drawing 30 issues of a series or something. And so I think the fun of that is the names in a hat, mix and match, like, who are the all-stars of DC? Who are the up-and-comers, right? Like, they do, they might call it Showcase, but they do, like, every year, like, who are the up-and-comers? Here's some, like, one-shot stories from them or whatever. I think there's a little appetite for it. And DC does, in a broader way, still have some avenues where they test things in an anthology and then spin them off.
Okay.
So there's the DC Power anthology that comes out in Black History Month every year that has like 5 or 6 like black stories.
Okay.
There's DC Pride that comes out in June every year that has 6 or 7 queer stories. They did the like festival of celebration or whatever they called the like the Asian and like Pacific
okay
one, like, and some of those things spin off. Like Monkey Prince came out of that, a 12 issue series like that came out of there. Or, you know, the fact that we still are getting like Nicole Maines is still doing like Dreamer comics. So Suicide Squad Dream Team is coming out. Like,
yeah.
We get to enjoy these characters beyond their first kind of like little showing or whatever. So DC does still slightly test, like, here's a one-shot anthology story. Did people like it? Well, let's have them guest in this thing, or let's give them 6 issues maybe, or whatever.
And I also think that the, like, speaking of market trends, you think of the explosion 20 years ago or 15 years ago, whatever, when Marvel had that big surgence and all the movies were coming out and everybody was super on top of it or what have you. You don't know. It's an ebb and a flow. And you could very well, from one of these small little sparks, get something that people just sink their teeth into.
Which is, I mean, and is always true. And I think the thing is, you can't calculate if it's going to be a random issue of Superman and people love this new character or this blah, blah, or if it's going to be a random story from a Showcase thing. Because I think the trouble, I think the biggest obstacle to putting out Showcase now is that the temptation would, and this wouldn't necessarily be a bad use of Showcase, but the temptation would be, where are all the characters that we don't see enough of
Yes.
that already exist?
Yes.
And that's a fair use of it. But you have to, if you're looking at the original Showcase model, you have to pepper in like a solid third of that series was new shit.
Yes.
You know? And if it wasn't brand new shit, it was that we did 2 issues of The Flash 4 issues ago, and now here's another 2 issues of that Flash.
Yeah.
Like, they were putting new things out there.
Yeah, like
DC has like done these things where they like maybe it's cooler this way, but they take a way bigger swing. It's like, here are 3 new 6-issue series, which seems like a way bigger thing to sink into brand new untested characters than like, here's 3 issues in Showcase, and then after that we'll give another 3 issues to this other new character.
Well, yeah.
And then here's a Metamorpho story because we know you love that guy, but then also here's a brand new character after that or whatever.
I think business wise it makes more sense to do all your, please, I may be saying this wrong, like your beta testing or your market testing in this format than it is to take a big swing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot less rewarding than for someone like Ram V or whatever, just gets 6 issues of The Vigil, and you're like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, really, The Vigil should get like 2 issues in Showcase, and then you go like, see, this is a good idea, and then they get another 2 issues in Showcase, and then they get 6 issues on their own or something like that. You know, like, there's a sort of... The trajectory seems different now, but that's not to say that you couldn't do it this way.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I think, and it's kind of interesting because when we talk about these things, we don't always think of it from like a business lens.
Well, no, I mean, I seldom do, but that's because that's not why I'm reading them. I'm not reading them and being like, oh my God, I bet the returns are great.
Well, no, but let's be honest.
I just care about the characters.
Well, because I remember asking you one time how many people like work at DC and not even like write or whatever, like that back end stuff.
I don't know.
You forget how many jobs and how much lens needs to come from there. Right?
Totally.
So our next one comes from Mullet.
All right. Used to be Mullet Overlord, but is now just Mullet. So I think they've been deposed.
You know what?
They've been overthrown.
Or maybe
their reign of terror is finally over.
Or maybe their mullet is just enough.
Now they're just wandering the wasteland.
Now
a vagabond. Learning humility along the way. Trying to atone for their sins.
They're growing.
Yeah.
They're growing.
It's like Red Skull on that planet where the Soul Stone is.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Are there any Showcase flops?
Sorry, I gotta fess up. I know the planet's called Vormir. I don't know why I tried to pass it off like I didn't remember that. I'm a fucking nerd, man. I'm so sorry. I know it's Vormir.
I'm so glad that this is our Tuesday.
Listen, I'm having fun.
I always am having fun with you, sweetie. All right, so Mullet wants to know, are there any Showcase flops that you wish had taken off into their own series? Is this sort of the same thing where it's hard to find a flop because it's hard to judge critical acclaim?
I mean, you can only say, well, I mean, I guess you could tell flops in that, like, some of these things got more issues.
Yes.
Or a series, and some did not. There's, geez, I don't know.
Are there any characters that, like, or storylines or groups or whatever that just were never seen again? They were just in Showcase and then they died a terrible death.
I'll say I don't know anything about this one, but the Way Out World of Windy and Willie, I've never heard of that. I have no idea what that is. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily a flop per se, but I could tell you things that I don't care about that were in Showcase. And like one of the things that I probably don't care about that much is like I don't really care about Tommy Tomorrow.
Okay.
They've done some retconning. Tommy Tomorrow is also technically part of the fabric of DC. At one point, the retcon was that when the Great Disaster doesn't happen, the kid that would grow up to be Commandy becomes Tommy Tomorrow. That's probably not
Commandy,
canon
the last
anymore.
boy on Earth?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there was at one point a future where the great disaster didn't happen, so he doesn't become Commandy. So he grows up to be Tommy Tomorrow. But that's no longer true because the great disaster does happen in the future. But yeah, let's see. Flops. I mean, it's unfair to call it a flop because they are known characters. They have had multiple series. They are part of DC. But the challengers of the unknown have a hard time kind of holding their own anymore. Yeah. The idea
they
of
aren't taken too seriously.
Well, but also just adventurers. Like my name's Ace. I'm a pilot. Like, it's like, all right, man. You know, like there's kind of it's hard for them to get a foothold. They kind of only make sort of cameo appearances, and you go like, oh shit, the challengers, and then you go, and I'm done being interested. You know, like I don't know that I've ever cared about them as like characters. I like the concept of the team, but like, do I care about the individual members of the challengers? And I'm like, not really. I think that's not, again, it's unfair to call it a flop because they're not. But I do think that they didn't age well, and not in the way where it's like, woo, that was sexist or something like that, but more in the way where it's just like, oh, there's actually like not a lot in here.
Yeah.
If you think about beyond just the concept of what if people went on adventures, but that could be anything. So if that's the case, then I'd rather watch Green Lantern go on an adventure.
I guess that's
true. Like, if anyone can adventure, I'd rather watch any of the other superheroes do it as opposed to like 4 dudes dressed in purple.
Well,
you know,
at least they have jaunty accents.
I mean, do they?
I don't know.
Well, in Teen Titans Go, yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We're here for the motion picture.
We're free. All right. So our last question here from the Doxcord.
All right.
A person named JK.
All right.
They want to know, did Showcase do more genre stories other than superheroes?
They did. Although, to be honest, a great deal of these stories are superhero-ish. But again, a lot of sci-fi. So something like Tommy Tomorrow is sci-fi. They had some humor ones. So Angel and the Ape is one. There's one called like Blinky or something like that. Like they had some just like funny pages kind of.
Blinky like the ghost from Pac-Man?
No. I mean, yes, that's the word, but no, it wasn't a comic of the ghost from Pac-Man. Because this comic predated Pac-Man by like 20 years.
I'm not going to lie. That would be pretty great. I'd love to know what Blinky's up to.
Yeah, specifically. Yeah, they should do it the way that Sony does all those movies about Spider-Man villains without Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah. I want an Inky movie.
Yeah.
What's that guy's deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, does he want to be there chasing Pac-Man?
Yeah. I mean, do any of us? Well, no, they can't use Pac-Man because Disney has the rights to Pac-Man. Sony only gets Inky. Yeah. They had like humor genre ones. You would get like Batlash. Western character made its debut in Showcase. You'd get that, or like they would a couple of times they reprinted tales from like All-Star Western or stuff like that, or like weird Western stories. Or so you would get Westerns. You'd get more occult, magic-y things when they would reprint.
Oh, okay.
Phantom Stranger. You'd get adventure-y things with like Challengers of the Unknown or stuff like that. You had some of these licensed things. Like there were a couple of spy ones. So the Dr. No comic is one. There's another one called I Spy that they did. So you'd get like espionage. Like you would have genre like shifts.
Yeah.
Issue to issue. But I would say over half of Showcase is definitively like superheroes, and specifically like science fiction superheroes. So it's not like the mandate was change it up every week.
Yes.
It was more like, well, yeah, we can do this here, and then they would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it wasn't like a mandate of the series.
You get more genre mix up than you would in DC Comics Presents or Brave and the Bold or some of these other anthology series. But compared to, well, no, I guess more than most, because the rest of it would just be like by the they had a lot of other series that were anthologies, but they were genre like specific anthologies. Young Love or Young Romance, those are like romance comics. There'd be different stories. You wouldn't like, there's not a through line, but it's all romance. Strange Adventures was always like sci-fi. House of Secrets was like always horror.
Okay.
So like those ones were anthology ones stuck in one genre. Showcase, I guess, really by definition is sort of the only one not stuck in a genre.
Okay. Where you have a little bit of bits and bobs,
where you
and
would
everything.
get bits of everything a little bit. I think maybe the only thing they didn't really dive into particularly is horror. But you would get westerns, you'd get adventure, swashbuckle, sci-fi.
I love
all
that.
These different kind of things. Yeah.
I'm actually quite interested in Showcase now.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's cool. Yeah. It's a neat series. I mean, hard to come by ones in decent shape because they're largely pretty old, but
nice choice, Golden Age.
Yeah,
nice
good
choice,
job.
guys.
Hey, we're gonna wrap up in a second, but before we do, let's take another break.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This time of the year can be tough. It's cold and dark outside, and you feel like you're all peopled out. How do you set boundaries and give yourself the alone time you need? Most people don't have an endless social battery. Therapy can help you listen to your body and give yourself the time to recharge. In the past few years, I have made choices that have improved every part of my life, and I honestly wouldn't have been able to do any of it without therapy. Through therapy, I've gained confidence and learned to draw important boundaries. If you want to make things better or just a bit easier, or you want somebody to talk to, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, so it's easier to fit into any schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can even switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/DrDC today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DRDC.
And we're back.
Welcome back.
Ooh.
There you go.
Oh. Who's that guy?
Oh.
I bet he did kill his wife.
Oh, my wife is a bitch.
Yeah, so there you go. That's DC Showcase. Is there anything else that any questions you wanted to ask before we're done here? Or are you good? You feel like you're ready to go off into the world and track down a bunch of DC Showcase?
Yeah. I'm actually going to look for those now, just for you.
Oh,
I want to know what you have so that the next time I go on an adventure, when I go to Brantford to
Oh God.
Yeah. When I go on
That place is a problem.
Yep, and that's where I'll be this summer.
Yeah, I don't have much Showcase, so you're more or less in the clear.
But yeah. No, this was awesome. Thanks for letting me come and hang out.
Thank you for coming and filling in for Richard while he's off. But just because he's not on the show, that doesn't mean he's not doing some fucking goddamn work. Because guess what? Next week, we're into April, and you know what that means. It's Prescribed Reading Month, where Richard picks books for us to read and talk about. Our Golden Age patrons will, as always, pick the final sort of type of book that we'll do. But yeah, I don't know what he has planned. I know he's been working on it. We have talked about it, but I don't know what the books are going to be. You'll see the call for questions go out as we go. But yeah, Prescribed Reading Month is happening next month. That's happening on the main feed every single week, but also over on the Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Discord, our awesome Discord fan community. At the $5 level, you get the double dose, our weekly bonus episode. We're doing Prescribed Reading Month over there as well. That's where we're going to be reading non-DC things. Last year, we read some great stuff. I think we're planning to dive even deeper into the indie stuff this year. And at the highest level, the $7 level, there are bonus series for you to take in. There's Toretto Talks, a Fast and Furious rewatch. There's Bonding Time that the two of us did together, rewatching all of the James Bond movies. And just started last week. There's the current series Cerebros, where me and Matt Poulter are going through all of the Fox X-Men movies. All of that Patreon money helps to support us. So head on over there, check that out. And if you like what we're doing here and you want more of us and you want it for free, go check out Ghostfacers, a Supernatural rewatch. Even my wife has been on it.
Yeah.
So we're watching CW Supernatural. We go through every single episode. We talk about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the show. It's a really fun time. We're in season 9 of 15 right now. So yeah, go check that out. Join us next week as we start Prescribed Reading Month. And that's it. Say goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
All the superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.